One is on the oil and gas industry and the other is on aviation sector. But let's start our conversation very quickly on the aviation sector. My guest for the oil and gas sector is live in the studio, but let's start with our guest joining us virtually. Now, the federal government and the Federative Republic of Brazil have revived the bilateral air service agreement between Nigeria and Brazil, which has stalled for years. Now, the countries have immediately set up a technical working group tasked with harmonizing the BASA for signature within the coming weeks. This was made public through a statement signed by Mr. Tunde Moshood, the media aide to the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, earlier this week. Now, discussions on the BASA arrangement had hit a brick wall years ago over bureaucratic bottlenecks between the two countries, following the renewed commitment of the countries. The agreement or arrangement has, however, been sealed with a mandate to strengthen both countries, the relationship and foster connectivity between Africa and South America. The BASA arrangement would also lead to a direct flight services between the two countries. My guest is Mr. Olumide Ohunayo. He is the General Secretary of the Aviation Roundtable. He joins me live from Ekpe in Lagos State for this conversation. Mr. Ohunayo, it's good to have you on the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tulu, and thanks for exposing me.
Yes, it is good to let... Thank you for your time. Well, I think it's good for us to start with this visit to Brazil, this strategic visit between Nigeria, trying to, strengthen ties again. Before we go to, highlight some of the positives of what the minister is doing, well, how does this really come to you, in your understanding?
Well, for me, I want to say kudos. This is not the first time we are signing with Brazil. We're going back again to sign with them for the air services, for the bilateral services between two countries. We've done that times and times again. It lapses and we'll go back again. But I think the key thing that is holding direct flight is because the two governments do not have an airline of their own. So it's one thing for you to sign, and another is for the private airlines, designated airline to be convinced that they can carry enough passengers between the two countries. And that's what we have not seen happen. We just see once this is signed, everybody makes promises. Even at the time, a Nigerian airline attempted, I think one of is rested now, I think Bellevue, did only one flight and stopped, or one or two flights and stopped. So we have private airlines not owned by government on that route. That these airlines are not ready to do what those national carriers used to do. When you bleed your account, fly empty for maybe about 6-7 months, and use that to build the routes. None of the private airlines will ready to do that. Looking at the cost of fuel, look at the exchange rates, that the airline want to take such risks. So it's good. The agreement has been renewed, and I think they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's now in Sao Paulo. Or Brazil, sorry, and maybe this time around, maybe the two countries will look at themselves as, okay, why don't we just have one airline and we could share on one of those airlines? Maybe that is the kind of partnership I want to see. If it's a Brazilian airline coming to Nigeria, then the airline designated by Nigeria can put its passengers on that airline to kickstart the route first, and then thereafter maybe the two airlines cannot operate independently. But in the past, you've seen Nigerians travel through South Africa to get to Brazil, travel to Europe to get to Brazil, and then sometimes have to go through Ethiopia Airlines, do one stop again, a two-stop to get to Brazil. So it's good to have a direct flight to South America from West Africa. As of today, there's no direct flight between Southwest Africa and Brazil, and it's a good one. But then, if you look at it, well, they not only go there for the bilateral services. There are other deals that they went there for to see if we could benefit from. One is the leasing companies, the Embraer aircraft manufacturer. If they can give airlines good deals for the aircraft, if they can also lease to companies in Nigeria. All those were part of the things that they were discussed. Other aviation-related things that the Brazilian government and the Brazilian people have shown some strength above Nigerians were all put on the table, including MRO, which is the Maintenance Repair Organization.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that already, and you talked about the Embraer, that's exploring modern aircraft access for favorable leasing options that could benefit Nigerian airlines. Can you tell us about that, how that works?
Well, Embraer is an aircraft manufacturer. They've been competing with Bombardier, the Canadian per airline. And the Canadian have leaned towards Airbus now. So Embraer also has to lean towards Boeing to have some footings. But then you cannot take it away. The Embraer and Bombardier are the strongest mini jets we have around now, and they are the ones. It's the aircraft, the Embraers that we intend to use for that best fits for this team routes we have in Nigeria, and we can take from their new model to the old model. And also, they can also help by coming to set up the maintenance and repair organization in Nigeria here to maintain aircraft in their fleets, aircraft from their stable, and also those owned by other airlines within the sub-region can also bring such aircraft to Nigeria, and that generates more revenue for the Nigerian government and for the Nigerian aviation industry in particular. So it will be a good one if Embraer can set up an MRO here, and also most importantly, I want to see them provide good leasing agreements with the airlines, and we're providing spares for our airlines, and also more importantly, ensuring that during that period we get the best deals from them, because they should realize now that where the Bombardier is there, and in not too distant future, we expect that the Chinese aircraft, who are also regional jets, and just await certification will be a good bride for African countries. So I think it's time for the Brazilians to quickly capitalize, entrench before the certification of the Chinese aircraft. Once the Chinese companies and the airlines are certified, you can be sure, by virtue of the costs and by virtue of the deals they bring and the gestation of their contracts, they will probably go and sweep the regional regional jet market in Africa. And that's why the Brazilians should capitalize on this opportunity that's come now and entrench themselves.
Well, let's take it a step further and see, would you say that in recent times, many say it's like the level of confidence in our aviation industry seems to be improving with Mr. Keyamo and, of course, with the support of Mr. President. Would you agree with that? What are the strides? What are those giant strides you will say you've noticed in recent times?
Well, I would agree with that because the star performance we are seeing from the Ministry of Aviation had to come about by the decadence and the absolute selfish governance method of the immediate past Minister of Aviation, who spent 8 years without access to the presidency, with all the funds and support from the executive, was unable to achieve anything and wasn't able to put the industry on a good footing. Rather, he had his roadmap was actually actually leading towards Katsina and Daura, village, and not actually to propel the industry. And that those 8 years to the industry down the line, and that was the kind of mess that the present government met. And luckily, we had a minister. The first thing he did was to pull himself out of all the roadmaps and deals. But why I say pull himself as a person, not pulling the country out. He has looked at it, and those that he feels that would work for the country, he has picked them on, and those who will rob the country by blind, such as the Nigerian Air project, he pulled out of it. The maintenance repair organization that was signed with the Nigerian company, he pulled out of it. The airport concession of Abuja and Kano Airport, he also pulled out of it. So I think those are the things that are endeared the industry to him. And being a former labor person, he has also endeared himself to the unions, who are very problematic, and he has also been able to open a line of communication and assuage whatever feelings they have. That's also credit to him for. And during this period, you notice that the backlog of the trapped funds of the foreign airlines were cleared, and that was easy it was not too easy to say that appropriately. It was not too easy, but it was easy for the government to ensure that we do not continue to owe by floating the naira to the dollar. So we don't have any disparity in the rate of exchange for ticket and as against the black market. All are now going up. All the exchange rate are now on the same pedal. So you don't have to go and start hunting for dollars as you are selling. Get the money together and remit it, and that has helped and reduced the incidence of trapped funds. And what happened with that? You can see that all the almost foreign airlines are returning back to Nigeria. Emirates has come back. Air Algeria has applied and started flying from Abuja to OGS, and some other airlines are asking for extra frequencies beyond Nigeria and flights into some other airports in Nigeria, and that has benefited the travelers and benefited the industry in particular, with fares going down slightly with the return of Emirates. Airline and the expansion of frequencies for other foreign airlines, and that's one of the achievements, and that's you should give to this government.
I would ask you about states. We see some states coming up with airports now, some cargo airports and all of that. You're an expert in this industry, and there's been arguments in some quarters that some states don't even need some of these airports. Yes, I'm going to ask you that question. What do you make of that? The viability of all of these airports, because building an airport is capital intensive. So some say, why not just channel these funds to other developmental purposes for the people, instead of building airports that maybe 1, 2, 3 people would only be able to fly? How does that come to you? What do you make of it?
Well, Toko, let me say, I'll just leave as an analyst and let the Honorable Minister take the title of the expert.
All right, go ahead.
But going back to your question, good question. Let us start with the laws allow the airlines, the states to build only cargo airports. So it's not them that are forced themselves to name it cargo, because the law says they can only build cargo airports. But the truth be said, all the airports, none of them has been built in line with the cargo airport standard. What they all built was just an airport to operate normal scheduled flight services. That's what they have done, and it's within their rights to choose what mode they want to use to first drive the airport from the beginning. I agree that yes, there are competing needs for funds of the state of different state government, and that airports should not be a priority. But I would rather say a gigantic airport, a big airport with a big runway, large runway that we have seen in almost all of them competing, who has the longest runway, who has the biggest terminal. That is wasteful. That I agree that should not be. But you see, anywhere in most of the developed countries, everywhere, even everywhere in the world, all airports start as a social project. And that's why the difference that they acquire a large chunk of land for the future expansion of the airport and use and start small, building small, building a small runway, building a little terminal, and then see what other facilities can be put in place in the land to make it generate some revenue. But what we have here, rather than have a state government starting small, everybody is running to have the biggest runway to land the 747, to land the 737, to land the 757. When you know that the passengers trained for such aircraft cannot even be there in the next 10 years. So why begin to prepare for that? And you now have to give response to maintaining and sustaining such facilities over those years. So I think what they should have done was to start small, build something small that can take smaller aircraft for now. Then, as the passengers train begin to expand, then they begin to expand the facilities to meet with them. But then you knowing that here is a country whereby if you have a land and you don't take good care of it, there will be encroachment. I feel any land owned by the government should be safeguarded by doing the necessary things, documentation and fencing to keep it and don't get miscreants or anyone to have access to the airport site. And that is why, apart from just getting this land for the airport, you do ensure that you must fence it properly and deny access to the air side of the airport. And I think that's what the state government should have done. But what we see among most of them is to get a large chunk of money away from the coffers of the state, build a large runway, long runway that they cannot maintain and sustain, build a big terminal. And unfortunately, same experts in the industry, analysts in the industry who come and criticize them are the same people who consult and encourage them to go along with this legislative grant just to siphon some money out of the coffers of the state government. But by and large, airports are a social project states are encouraged, even local governments, to build airports that can fit into their economic system. What you do is how you now begin to look at how you can carve a niche for that airport by looking at what options are available to you. You not necessarily have to get all your revenue from flight services. There are some other activities within the industry that can be offered at the airport, just like the MRO we've talking about. We've talked about that. There's also the air club, there's the training centers. So many things can be generated around the airport asset. But what you see is that all they want is just a scheduled flight that will operate into the state capital and go into that airport and go out and enter, so that they are not ready to think about it or allow it to work. And that's why you see almost all of them, after building, they immediately hand it over to the federal government to manage at home.
All right, then finally, before I let you go now, in your thoughts, what's the outlook for the entire industry? We see even globally that there are challenges considering Donald Trump's tariff and people limited to travel and all of that, or limitations in some traveling in some countries. Do you think this might affect the aviation industry in its totality? What are your expectations?
Of course, Tolu. Of course, the addition will be the first point. Once there are visa restrictions, once you reduce travel, you reduce trade, you bring tariff that inhibits trade and does not have, we don't have increase in movement of goods and services. Aviation is badly affected, not only in passenger movement, also the cargo movement, and these are the main lifeline of the aviation industry. Yes, we are affected by the tariff. Even at the moment, getting aircraft from the US, it's a problem because of the tariff, and you can see that some countries are now asking their airlines not to continue with the delivery. Someone like China has asked air to stop all deliveries from the US and look somewhere else, and also some other countries that would have gotten aircraft into the US are now taking the aircraft to a third country with lesser tariffs at a higher cost and more at a higher expense, and that also is affecting aviation. Also, the multiple conflicts worldwide, from the one in Pakistan to the one in Ukraine, whereby these airspaces are closed, and because these airspaces are closed, airlines are forced to detour and take other routes, including the Palestine, the Israeli crisis too. So all this has added more to the cost of movement of international flights, and with this increase in movement, flights are reduced and costs are going higher.
Well, I must thank you so much for this interesting conversation, Mr. Olumide Ohunayo, General Secretary, Aviation Roundtable. Thank you so much, and have a great time in Ekpe State.
Thank you for having me and exposing where I
am. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, then. Well, we'll take